Hello F1 fans, and welcome back to the F1 Masters podcast brought to you by AUBG Daily. In this unusual episode, you're with me, Harry, David, Vasco, and our special guest, Kawata, who you most probably know from previous episodes. So, Kawa?
So there is nothing special about this appearance by mine, given the fact that it's like my third time here, is it not?
Yeah, but maybe fourth.
But we're not drunk this time. This is the first time that it is the four of us, and we're not drunk, so...
Yes,
Yeah,
let's see if that makes a productive conversation.
Well, three of us are not drunk, so...
Yeah. So in this episode, we're going to discuss the greatest driver in Formula One's history to never win a title. And I would like to give context, because this was the first off-topic episode that we ever recorded in this podcast. And we did not publish it, but now we're going back to this topic just for the nostalgia and to see how we have evolved for these 3 years. So,
Yes, circling back.
yeah,
Yeah.
let's say.
I wonder, do you have the pics from the first episode that you recorded from
Yes.
this? Just like have a comparison between what you guys were saying then and now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we have them. So maybe we can begin. Someone can say their top three, and then also we have honorable mentions. So who wants to start?
Go ahead.
Okay.
We started
Yeah.
the episode, so...
Okay. So my first pick, it probably isn't a surprise, but it's Sterling Moss. Like to quickly mention, he got 4 consecutive second places in the Drivers' Championship, and after that, 3 consecutive third place finishes. So he was a very consistent top runner in F1.
I should double check that, but I think I saw a stat that he won 24% of the Grand Prix that he entered
Yeah.
in F1, which is crazy. I'm not even sure that there is somebody who can compare with that stat, and at the same time to never have a championship is crazy, which is why he's also my first pick.
Yeah, so he won 16 Grand Prix in total, and he competed in a total of 212 official races, even though some of these were not in F1. But
Like most of them were probably not in F1.
yeah, so he has 66 starts in F1 and 24 podiums, which is very impressive, like considering that this was there of also Fangio and other drivers such as also Farina, Ascari, so...
This is like 23 something percent
Yeah.
of the races that you, which is like one to win every fourth race that you compete in F1 is pretty impressive.
I think that when it comes to Sterling Moss, like, the story about how he lost the championship to Mike Hawthorne in
58. Yeah.
58. It was this is one of my favorite stories from Formula One, when it was all pure sportsmanship, and it was like his, I don't know which time would have finished second in a championship, and he still said, "I don't want to win like this." It's I really respect Sterling Moss as a driver and as a as a sportsman, because he's this is pure sportsmanship. This is a guy who loves the game. Unfortunate that he didn't win, though. It's very unfortunate, because this is one of these cases when you think about like the greatest name of the 50s in the sport in general. Moss is always coming up there, and to think about the fact that he never actually won a title is the same thing.
Yeah, it's also important to mention that he drove for quite a few teams. So, this proved that no matter what the car was, he managed to consistently perform at the top level. So, just to mention, he drove for Maserati, Mercedes, Vanwall, and RRC Walker Racing team. So, like a lot of teams that he drove for. And yeah, that's my first pick. Maybe I'll move on to the second one. So, number 2 for me, it's Ronnie Peterson, who is a very underrated driver in my opinion, not talked about enough. And he drove for March, Tyrrell and Lotus from 1970 to 78. He had 123 races, 10 wins, 26 podiums, 14 pole positions. And I would say, given the way he unfortunately, his life ended, maybe he could have achieved something more if he had continued in F1. This is like one of the many what ifs in F1. Like we did an episode on this about Ayrton Senna, so this is something we have already discussed. But I would say that he was very competitive. He was teammates with Mario Andretti in his championship winning season,
Was he?
78. Yeah, he drove for Lotus and he passed away. I think it was in the Italian Grand Prix, right? Yeah, it was a heavy crash. So yeah, Ronnie Peterson for me very underrated, and that's why I wanted to mention his name because he deserves some recognition.
Yeah, life ended too early. We will never know. Actually, a quick off topic, but the Senna episode, that was actually one of my favorites that we have done about alternative history. But yeah, Ronnie Peterson, 14 pole positions, and he was quick indeed. And I think there was a real possibility, like in alternative past, that if he never passed away, he may have been an F1 champion. But we'll never know.
Yeah. Who's your final pick in the top
So
three?
final pick,
Okay.
it's Gilles Villeneuve. I think probably some of you are also going to mention him. So yeah, we all know he drove for Ferrari. He was very promising, like a young talent. He was really quick. His driving style was like, as described by the people who saw it, it was incredible to watch. And yeah, he was also let's say a story of what could have happened if he hadn't passed away at only 32 years old. So he had 67 starts, he had 6 wins, 13 podiums, and 2 pole positions, which, like, it may not sound as incredible statistics, but still, like, given that he did not always have the most competitive car, and given the era of competitiveness in F1 at that time, I think, yeah, he was a very impressive driver. So, yeah.
Nice.
We can move to David.
Okay.
Yeah, or maybe should I say my honorable mentions?
No, we can go.
We can discuss
Okay,
them after
okay,
that.
so maybe you can go.
So my top three, I have Sterling Moss number 1. Obviously, I mean, apart from the stats you mentioned, it's just he was so good that I think he's better than probably a third of the world champions. Even he's so consistent, and unfortunately, he was just in the era of Fangio. That Fangio was the greatest of that era, and it was impossible to compete with him, especially in the same car. But yeah, in 1958, he gave up the championship, and even after that, also tried to be competitive, but didn't have the car to quite challenge, and then he eventually suffered a big accident which ended his career and couldn't continue competing past 1961. But yeah, Sterling Moss, I think, is hands down the best, I think, of all time when it comes to not winning a championship. Someone else that I put third, who you also had on your list, was Gilles Villeneuve. I think the stats don't tell the full story, especially his wheel-to-wheel racing was phenomenal. I never forget that battle with René Arnoux he has in 1979. Honestly, I think the greatest wheel-to-wheel fight I've ever seen in F1, so I highly recommend checking it out if you haven't. And the person I put in number 2, bias aside, it is Charles Leclerc. I mean, like, you might hate me for it, but I think Charles Leclerc is an incredible driver. His qualifying, I think he is hands down, honestly, top 10 qualifiers of all time. I think he is exceptional when it comes to quality performance. And I would say that he has not had the opportunity to have a championship winning car as other drivers. And sadly, he's left with just 8 wins, which I feel like discredits, the type of career he's had, because I think he's really been one of the drivers of his generation. And he's been unlucky to not have a championship so far, but I think that he is always on exceptional level when it comes to performance. And yeah, he's beaten all of the teammates he's had, and he's had teammates like Sebastian Vettel, Carlos Sainz, Lewis Hamilton. Like, he is regularly not competitive.
Marcus Ericsson.
Yeah, Marcus Ericsson. But he regularly beats his teammates at any season, and I just feel like he doesn't get enough credit that he deserves. He has 52 podiums as well, and I believe by the end of this year he will become the Ferrari driver with the most starts for the team in their history. which shows obviously the belief they have in him as well. And I would say that it is just unfortunate for him that he has ended up in such an era of Ferrari where they've had a championship drought for the longest time in their history. But that does not reflect his performance, and I think his performance is extremely impressive year in and year out.
Okay, who's your number 3 then? Oh, wait,
My
it's,
number 3 was Gilles
Villeneuve.
Villeneuve.
Okay,
Yeah.
so then maybe we can move on to Vasco, and Kaut, our special guest, will be the last one.
Okay, just a quick comment on the Charles Leclerc one.
Yeah.
I just don't feel like... I feel like Charles has been slightly overrated because he's driving for Ferrari. Imagine if he was driving for McLaren, he would have been considered at the same level as Lando Norris. And imagine if they have swapped places and like...
Do you think Lando Norris is a better driver than Charles Leclerc?
No, but I think they're pretty much on the same level. And I feel like I have a really great basketball metaphor for that. I feel like Charles is like what Carmelo Anthony was for the Knicks. Like he's constantly great, but he's not part of this pantheon of F1 drivers. And I feel like he's a pretty good driver, but he's not on the level of the people. Like maybe by the end of his career he would be, but he's not on the same level as Sterling Moss, as Gilles Villeneuve. And I feel like it is just that the Ferrari bias is like playing him a serious, like it is beneficial for him because people are considering him, just because he's driving for Ferrari, he's much better than he actually is.
But it's not just that. He, in his first season with Ferrari, he beat Sebastian Vettel, who was championship contender for the previous seasons. I mean, this guy came in and he made this team his because of his performance. So I don't think that it's bias. I think that his performance has shown and proven how good of a driver he's always been. If he drove for different teams, he probably would have been more successful. But just because he wasn't doesn't mean that we cannot acknowledge how good he actually is, because Gilles Villeneuve, he also did not have great cars generally, although he did have one season, and he lost to Jody Scheckter when he won the championship. Charles Leclerc has never lost to a teammate in such a fashion, and he regularly beats some of the greatest drivers of all time.
But there is one main issue. We have never seen him in a championship fight. Never.
Yes, but
this is not
his fault.
Yes, but it is at the same time it discredits his case a bit, because we know that he has crumbled under pressure in the past in a certain moments. And imagine like not being under pressure for 2 or 3 races throughout the season, but being under pressure for 20 something races throughout the season, depending on which is the season. And that is why I feel like if he's in a proper championship battle, I'm not sure that, let's say, if he's currently against either Verstappen, Norris, Russell, he is going to win that championship. Imagine that. I feel like even with the experience that we've seen from Russell currently and from Norris, I feel like Lando is just probably on the same level as them, but I haven't seen him in an actual proper title race so that I can say, oh yeah, this guy can be considered one of the top 3 greatest without a title.
I mean, like, when we talk about this generation of drivers, like barring Max Verstappen, do you think there's anyone better than Charles Leclerc? Because I don't think, and I don't think it's close. He's a better wheel-to-wheel driver. He's a better qualifier, and his overall performance is more consistent than all of the other drivers around him.
I mean, to be honest, Russell kind of is up there, but I still think in my personal opinion, again, barring Verstappen, because of course, I feel like Leclerc and Russell are probably 2 people that are like best matched between each other on track. Although I think that Charles is better, but again, this is not personal bias speaking. I just think so, and I believe so. The thing is, it's. I think that Charles is statistics and everything that he has been proving with Ferrari is unfortunately the product of the dysfunctional team that Ferrari is right now, because Charles Leclerc has always been there as a leader for Ferrari. He showed it against Vettel, repeating what David was saying, but in the 2020 season, when the Ferrari car was absolutely atrocious and Vettel was barely finishing races and finished 14th? Was it something like this?
Sorry, he finished very far down.
Yeah,
Charles tripled his points tally. I remember.
And even in a season like that, Charles was still up there grabbing a podium here or there, being being there racing with the big boys. I feel like and I think that I'm gonna say this and we should move on because apparently this is not a Charles Leclerc episode and I was misled. But I feel like when it comes to Charles Leclerc, I really like the comparison between him and Kimi Raikkonen, especially in the beginning of Kimi Raikkonen's career, because just like Charles, Raikkonen was one of the top younger drivers when he was racing against Schumacher, Montoya, Alonso, and all of these people who would win championships. But there was this moment where Raikkonen could not match the car. The car was not made for Raikkonen, and therefore the success that he could have perhaps achieved with the McLaren Mercedes that was at the time probably would have been much bigger because what I'm trying to say is I don't think that the stats are always efficient to identify Leclerc as maybe not part of this top tier, because I feel that if he has the better machinery underneath him, he would without a question be a very dominant and good driver, because we've seen dominant drivers with him. We've seen what he can do with good cars. And I feel like I disagree with Oscar.
Well, it is true, and I'm not. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that Charles is a bad driver. Charles is one of the most talented drivers on the grid. It is just that for this certain category, I just feel like if I have never seen him competing for a title, I cannot surely say that. Oh yeah, he's one of the best. But we'll see. He still has lots of seasons in the sport, so hopefully. Well, we'll see. One day we can see him competing for a title.
Okay. Now let's with your list.
Yeah. So my first pick is Sterling Moss. Surprise! I feel like that would be everybody's pick. After that I have Nico. No, just kidding. No. After that I have Rubens Barrichello. I feel like that was my original first.
Yes.
Yeah. For Barrichello's case, it is just that we know how fast he was on his day, and on his day he could have been even faster than Schumacher. And the case with him is that when he had the opportunity, he was put against one of the greatest drivers, if not the greatest of all time, because to this day F1 is synonymous with the name of Schumacher. And that is the thing. I feel like he in the case where he was the lead driver and Schumacher never existed or never signed for Ferrari, then we may have been talking about Rubens Barrichello, who is a 4 or 5-time world champion. And I feel like he always had the speed. He was the first time that we were recording, I feel like he was still the drivers with the most Grand Prix entries. It was topped by Raikkonen after that, and after that it was topped by Alonso. But and that is for a reason, because he was one of the most talented drivers to ever compete. He was really fast, as I said, on his day, and he had Ferrari's trust, and I can say for sure that without Schumacher he would have been a multiple-time world champion. So that is why he's my number 2 pick. And my third pick is again Mr. Villeneuve.
Okay. I want to say about Rubens Barrichello. I don't know. I've always found him overrated in my opinion because I think he has always had the machinery, but never the results. I mean, in the 5 years Schumacher was champion with Ferrari, Rubens finished second only twice in those seasons. He drove the Braun GP car and he also didn't finish top 2 in the standings that year. And against Jenson Button, who was a lesser name than Barrichello at the time as well.
That's true.
So I feel like Rubens, this is why I think Charles, at least in my opinion, is better, because Rubens has had the opportunities and not achieved the success. Whereas, I mean, he has 11 wins, which is just 3 more than Charles, with cars that have been historically dominant. So that's why I personally, but of course he's a great driver. I think he's one of the greatest number 2 drivers of all time.
Not the greatest.
But when it comes to like achieving results, I don't see him, achieving the maximum day in and day out, at least for me.
I do agree with what you are saying. However, I also have to side more with Vasco on this one because, to be honest, Barrichello has always been one of my favorite drivers of all time, in my top 10 favorite drivers of all time. I feel like what Vasco was saying about him being a multiple world champion wouldn't be exactly the case because he was extremely talented. He was extremely good. There was a reason why Ferrari took him after his podiums in the 90s, because keep in mind that in the 90s when he was driving for... Who was he driving for?
He drove for Jordan, he drove for Stewart. He actually got a position in the podium for Stewart. He was very good in the midfield.
He is genuinely an extremely good midfield driver.
Mm-hmm.
And then when he was promoted to the top team, he couldn't compete with Schumacher because when Rubens Barrichello entered Ferrari, right? This is 2000. He entered in 2000.
Yeah.
By that time, Schumacher is 4 years into the team. He joined the team in order to help them rebrand and reshape themselves in order to become a front-running team again, because we all know how it was before Schumacher joined, with Alesi and with Prost and all these things, when they were close, but never that close. And then he enters, he replaces Eddie Irvine, which is kind of crazy for me, to be honest, because Eddie Irvine was a championship contender the year before that. It's interesting, but still, after the point that he entered Ferrari, every time Schumacher was not present in the race, there was a crash or he was at the back, Barrichello was always there. 2 examples: Germany, in the German Grand Prix in 2000, his first win. Schumacher, I think, crashes. I've watched this race a long time ago, but yeah. And Barrichello was starting from very back. He was 10th or 11th on the grid, something like this. And after the crash happens, after all the safety cars, Schumacher is out, he barges his way through the field with a Ferrari, which was not the greatest car it was still very fast, don't get me wrong. It was still a competitive car, very competitive, 2 championships. But he goes from so back on the grid to win the race. And he was a great team player. He, Austria 2002, we don't talk about that. But also we have another memory that comes up is, of course, Japan in 2003, when Schumacher was starting from very back again. Barrichello was leading the race, and he held off Raikkonen just enough in order for Raikkonen not to pass him, get the 1 point, and win the championship. So, yeah.
No, that is the case with Rubens, that actually he was doing exactly what he was there for, but if he was given the lead role in the team, I think he would have done even better. and we all know that. And for the Brown case, for the Brown GP case, like it was, first of all, he was 37 or 38 by that time. He knew that he was going to be the second driver against up and coming Jenson Button, and at the same time, Brown's season wasn't like as dominant as for some reason people consider it. Like they didn't win all 20 races throughout the season.
True.
Like especially in the second half of the season with Red Bull up and coming Sebastian Vettel. Like they were the fastest car by the end of the season. And like actually Rubens, he was number 2 driver in a randomly fast car that was not the fastest in the last, I don't know, 5, 6.
He was even more
Yeah.
races, because you keep in mind that with Braun GP there is like, of course, the coming together of the teams that's financially supported the development of that car, and when at the end of the season this money just ran out, and so their car started breaking down. You know the infamous case of one of the springs from Rubens Barrichello's car flying away and contacting Massa's head, almost killing Massa's head. Like it's when it comes to Braun GP, I don't like it very much as an argument against Rubens being an incredible driver, because I feel like he's not the best, but at the same time, with the results that he had shown, with the competition that he had, with the cars that he drove, and the time and place, because a Formula One is as much of a racing sport as much as like at that time, in the moment thing. So in the time that he was driving, I feel like he got the best out of his car, and it was one of my favorite drivers.
I'm just trying to make the argument because he's won the Constructors' Championship 6 times, and he's not won a World Championship, so he's had the opportunity to succeed when it comes to the car, and he just hasn't achieved, at least in my opinion. Okay, so we went through Vasco's top 3. Colin, you can go through your top 3.
I mean, I think that we already made it obvious that one of them is one of the
Sterling Moss.
No. I actually decided not to include Sterling Moss because I feel like it's such an obvious pick. I do agree with everything the gentleman said, but I think that in order to make this discussion a bit more fancier, we should include like a bit more names. However, Barrichello is on the list. I feel like Barrichello is like a very obvious thing to have on a list, especially mine. And we also want to drop in my first pick, which is Carlos Reutemann. I feel like we haven't mentioned Reutemann yet, but Reutemann was an incredible driver. Like I don't have that many statistics about him. I really like him. I feel like he's a person who kind of adapted really well to the machinery, and when teams were fighting for him and trying to get him in their team, he was always consistent, always provided them with results which he would normally expect from like people like maybe, for example, Carlos Sainz right now, something like this, But Reutemann was obviously really much better, and he was in a championship. He was fighting in 1981. He was fighting Piquet and Jones until the last round, basically, and he was always there. He always put pressure on the drivers. He was partnered with some of the greatest drivers of all time. When you think about it, Alan Jones, who's like the 1980 world champion, the first world champion for Williams. He was also partnered with Niki Lauda. Yeah. Was he in 76? No, 77.
77,
yeah. And also he took Lauda's place in Ferrari in 76, I think, when he was injured and skipped a few races. You and I were watching like the other day season review on F1 TV about, was it 1973? I think, no, it was 72 or 74, I'm not sure. I think it was one of these seasons. Anyhow, but it was really surprising because even then his name was mentioned. Like he was leading a race and he took pole position and was leading the race, and his car broke down and he couldn't win it. And I think it was his first season.
So it's 72 probably. That's his first.
He's actually finished in the top 4 in the championship 5 times, which I feel like many people are not aware of how consistent he was.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, and he was also. I think he finished in 81. He finished second, right?
Yeah.
Just
He actually
just
led the
behind
championship
PK.
for most of the
It's
season.
also important to mention he was 39 at the time. I just realized in 81 he was 39. So this is very impressive longevity. Like this is some Fernando Alonso levels.
Especially in a car, which mind you, because nowadays we look at these cars and we think like they're optimized for like for senior citizens like Alonso and Hamilton to drive them. But in the 80s and like the 70s and the 80s, these machines were insane. There was so much inconsistency in the way that they worked. And optimization such as current the car development maybe was not that present. And when you think about the fact that he was actually 13, I didn't know that. That's like absolutely insane. But yeah, Carlos Reutemann, my first pick. Obviously, Barrichello was second. And one which I know that some of you are going to disagree, but I really want to give a shout out. Plus, I kind of went for like people that for drivers that all drove for Williams at some point. I decided to go with Juan Pablo Montoya. Montoya is a very good driver. Maybe he's not one of the best, but you know that I like giving random shouts to people like that I really like, and I like Montoya because not only did he come actually very close to winning the championship. I mean, he did, of course, a lot of mistakes. Maybe the Williams car in 2003 was not the greatest, it was not the best, but he was still there. He was very hot-headed. He was always very
unapologetic, but so entertaining.
Yes, this is one of course the greatest moments is him in 2004, like when Schumacher passed him in a very unpolite way. He was like, I was taking my corner, this was my corner, oh, he didn't see me there. I mean, you have to be either blind or stupid not to see me, but okay. And this is one of my favorite press conference moments ever. Like, it's so insane. But besides his Formula One career, keep in mind he also won Indy 500, I think, 2 times. He won it in 2000 in his rookie season in IndyCar, and I think he won it in 2015, 16, something like that.
2015, he was like, I mean, I don't know when he was born, but he's probably like over 40.
He was 40 exactly.
He's 40.
Yeah.
40 years old, he won the
Which
Indy
is
500.
insane. Which is insane. He's still a very good presence in Formula One. I mean, he still appears in many of the broadcasts.
His son drives in.
His son drives in Formula 3.
In Formula 2 now.
Is he in Formula 2?
Yeah.
Oh, very nice. But yeah, I mean, Montoya, in his first season in Formula One, he finished in 2001. I think he finished behind, like he had 1 win in 2001, which was very interesting. And then in 2002, one of the most dominant seasons in Formula One history by Schumacher, he finished just behind the Ferraris. Like just behind Barrichello. Then in 2003, he also finished 3rd. Then also, he wasn't that great during that time, but in 2005, when he drove with Raikkonen in McLaren, he had like 3 wins, I think, in that McLaren. And for a very long time, he actually held the record at Monza, I think, with his 2005 car. Yeah. I think Montoya is like a fair shout. Like, definitely not the first one I would give. I was even considering putting him in my honorable mentions, but I decided to go with him because I really like Montoya and I think that he's a bit underrated when it comes to his way of driving.
Yeah, I mean, last time both Vasco and David mentioned Montoya in their top 3. Now I guess they don't like him that much at this point, but
no, it is it is not that. I love Juan Pablo Montoya. It is actually one of the first memories of F1 that I have was when I was watching with my father, and he was like telling me about the drivers of his time, and because he was like primarily watching in that 2000 to 2007-8 period, and Juan Pablo Montoya is still to this day his favorite driver.
Really?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And
Did you know that he went to Shultanaslavi?
Yeah. I just I just understood it like 3 hours ago, and Yeah, it was crazy, but still Montoya, and also we have to give him that he only entered like 90 something 94 5 Grand Prix in his whole Formula One career.
2001 to 2000 to the middle of the season of 2006.
Yes, and we actually have seen him only in his prime driving amazingly in F1. Like from the beginning he was like top-notch driver, and he competed in other series as well, and as Kawata mentioned, he's just super talented, and he's one of these amazing entertaining faces that however are a bit forgotten with time, but like for everybody who have watched Juan Pablo Montoya, they know what he's capable of, and that is why I really like this child, because when it comes to raw talent, then he's probably at the top of that list. Like on his best day, he's probably the best of all the drivers that we mentioned. Probably only Sterling Moss comes close to him.
Okay.
Yeah, I think Juan Pablo Montoya was phenomenal, and he's super consistent he's only drove in 6 seasons, and he finished 6th, 3rd, 3rd, 5th, 4th, 8th. Like, incredibly high performance, and it's just a shame that he left kind of too soon, but I
He
mean...
was fired from McLaren, wasn't he?
Yes.
I mean, yeah, but either way, he didn't really enjoy F1. He didn't like F1, but it would have been amazing to see in 2007 if he drove for McLaren.
That would have been
yeah,
insane.
that season would have
Absolute
gone
cinema.
down. He might have won a world championship if he stayed just 1 or 2 more years with McLaren, but he was definitely a challenge to work with for many teams, so this is probably why he didn't have much longevity.
In an alternative universe, he wins the 2009 championship with Brown.
Very alternate universe.
Yeah.
But I guess we can move on to honorable mentions now. If you guys want, you guys can start, because I have a big list of names, so I'll just name the ones that you don't mention.
Give me, please, your craziest ones.
Craziest ones?
Yeah, craziest,
I
yeah.
mean, I don't know about craziest ones. I'll give some that I feel like none of you will say, maybe.
Okay.
One of them is Peter Collins. He was a driver in the 50s, and he actually was going to win the championship over Fangio, but in the last race of the season, Fangio's car broke down, and Peter Collins stopped in the pits and gave his car to Fangio so he could finish the race because he felt he deserved to win the championship.
Oh my god, what is in the 50s?
This is true story. And then
What the hell?
the next season he was a championship contender but died at the Nürburgring, but a very good driver. Also, I'd like to shout out Wolfgang von Trips, who was...
Your favorite name.
Yeah, he led the 61 championship almost the entire season, and he died in a crash at Monza, and Phil Hill beat him by 1 point as a result, but he deserved to win the championship. And also, I want to shout out...
Come a long way.
Yeah. And also, shout out to Didier Pironi. He's one of my favorite all-time drivers. He was going to win the 82 championship. He was leading by quite a lot, and very good driver, but he suffered a huge crash in which he broke both of his legs, and he never raced in F1.
Which is very unfortunate.
Yes, but he was a phenomenal driver as well, and was 100% going to win the championship that year.
I mean, yeah, especially about Pironi. You know, this is kind of the 82 season is such a wild ride to think about, because so many people tried to get, you know, to fight Pironi and like try to get his championship, you know, and KK Rosberg just got it at the end by what, 1 or 2 points, was it?
5 points.
By 5 points,
5
but
points.
Didier Pironi missed the last 5 races.
Yeah, I know that he missed a lot, but John Watson was also there.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe John Watson is a shout for.
I think yes, John
like a
Watson
really
was,
far shot.
I mean,
Yeah.
that was his only competitive championship season. But
He was very
Yeah.
good when it came to like race pace and stuff. You know, it's like he's a very infamous qualifier. You know, he was like horrible at qualifying, but and he did give it a fair try in 82 to get the championship. It's just, you know, it's
any other honorable mentions you guys want to give?
I have a special category dedicated to the drivers that came the closest.
Okay.
Travis is going to call this.
And
Right.
in that category, it is. I have one shout, which is like I appreciate this guy. I feel like he's super talented. He's not that close to the top 3, but at the same time, I feel like he should have, like, in one alternative universe, he would have been a champion, and that is Mark Webber, who is.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
cool.
very fresh shout.
Yeah, and for the 2010 Grand Prix, like the end of the season, he was the favorite to win the championship before the race, and that was like, every one of us knows generational fumble, but at the same time, I feel like Vettel definitely deserved to become the youngest world champion ever.
we
But
know you
but
like Vettel.
yeah, I miss him on the grid sometimes.
Mark Webber was never the same after that day, though. Unfortunately.
Yeah, absolutely, and I feel like
moments, but yeah.
Never
I feel like
championship contender.
if he won the 2010 championship, we would have never known actually what could happen. He would have been he may have been given the lead role of that team, and probably he was going to be. Maybe the future was going to be different, but still one of the most talented F1 drivers ever, and definitely deserves a shout. And
Another what if is like,
of course,
crazy
Felipe
when-
Massa.
But when you think about like Mark Webber, imagine if he won the 2010 championship, how the 2011 championship would have looked like between him and Vettel, you know?
We'll never know.
Yeah, we will never know, and I don't know if he was given the lead role just 15 seconds of alternative history, and we're coming back. And if if Weber was given the lead role, I don't know, Mercedes, a German team, may have called Vettel
Oh my
instead of
God.
Hamilton.
Oh my
And you never know how
my
things
God.
how things can turn out.
Where
but
did you go, bro?
no, but this is that was the shout, Mark Webber, and the other person. Of course, there are actually 3 people in that category. The other one, of course, Felipe Massa. We know that. So once again, he's like super stereotypical Brazilian driver, like super fast on his day, but sometimes he can really not perform on the needed level. And I feel like Massa, like, it was probably the harshest moment, like, for ending a season ever.
Oh, yeah.
Like, probably the only person who was feeling worse was Lewis Hamilton during the first Verstappen championship, but I don't know, what comes around goes around, or whatever. Like
Karma.
the same way 50 Cent was singing.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I just wanted to say for Mark Webber that even in the reality that ended up happening, he was not bad for a number 2 driver.
Yeah. you beat me by 2 seconds with that joke. You beat me by 2 seconds.
Harry, you have other mentions
Yeah.
that we haven't mentioned?
I mean, I mentioned him last time as well, but of course, Carlos Reutemann, he was already mentioned. I really respect the guy. Very, very.
Can I say about
good
Carlos
driver.
Reutemann?
Yeah.
In 1982, he actually finished second in the first race that season.
Yeah.
And he only drove the first 2 races and then decided that he's going to become a politician in Argentina. And the person that won the championship was his teammate during that season.
Yeah. Not a
He
great
could've won-
choice.
He was actually a favorite for the championship.
Crazy.
But yeah.
Yeah. And he was second, as we mentioned, in 81. So yeah.
Yeah.
We can say that he was really patriotic.
Yeah. He preferred to go save his country instead of like driving F1. So, but another one I actually thought of is Jackie X, because he had a really strong run from 1968 to 1972. He got 3-4 places and 2 second place in the championship. He was very close in 1970, even though Jochen Rindt won the championship posthumously. but important to mention him because I think that he also does not get enough credit that he may deserve.
Yeah,
So-
Jack Hicks is definitely one of the greatest drivers that didn't win. I was also considering putting him as an honorable mention, but at the end of the day, I decided myself to go with somebody that probably you are going to be very surprised that I went with him.
Who is it?
Heinz Karl Frentzen.
Wow.
Because, listen, he was very good. Like, he was an extremely talented individual. I think that in moments when when he was there and he was fighting for wins and for stuff, like with that Williams in 1997 with Jacques Villeneuve, the two were a very good duo, and although he just got like one win with that Williams, he was still very consistent, a very good driver. But I think that the moment where it was like he was at his peak was in '99 with that Jordan. You know, he got 2 wins. He was always fighting there. He actually first finished third in that championship. No, he finished just behind Eddie Irvine.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, maybe not the best or the greatest, but just a person who I feel like is very, very, very underrated, and I feel like deserves a lot more praise. And I was either going to go with that or my goat Johnny Herbert, but David said that I shouldn't say anything. So
I mean, like Heinz Harald Frentzen, I would not put him anywhere near any of these drivers. But
He was talented,
he was good,
and
but-
he was very cool vibe during the 90s, and he is actually the driver who has come closest to winning the championship without actually winning a race throughout the season. But I should double check
No,
the year.
he won a race in '97.
No,
Which-
in the season. I will double check that information. But the thing is that yeah, he's really far away from like the people that we were talking about.
that's why I included him as an honorable mention, because I feel like it was a moment at which like I could have like just gave a shout out to my goat, and I really like Frentzen. I really think that he's very underrated, and although he's definitely not on the level of the drivers that we were just discussing, I still think that he's worth like giving a shout out to as like a person who was like really good, but you know just didn't have that much to win the title. You know?
And probably I guess my last shout and my last unserious shout. There are 2 shouts. The first one, how do we feel about Valtteri Bottas?
No, he was a second driver.
No, I never
I
really.
mean, like I agree, but I put him on the same level as Rubens Barrichello. But you guys
I
rate
wouldn't.
Barrichello much higher. I think they're the same.
Bottas
type of
Bottas
driver.
is Barrichello 2.0.
I think Bottas is a better qualifier, worse in race pace, but generally performs.
Bottas's
phenomenally.
wheel to wheel was horrible. I really
Yeah.
dislike the way that Bottas is.
But
Like,
he was really good in qualifying.
he was
He
very
was,
good in qualifying. I have to admit that Bottas was in very good qualifying.
Actually, we shouldn't speak in past tense because he's still an F1, guys. I just realized.
Yeah, in his prime.
I'm telling you, I haven't heard the name of Valtteri Bottas from the commentators since the start of the season.
oh no!
Not-
When he
not
stopped,
joking.
when his car stopped in front of the pit lane, we heard it.
Yeah, but I
I
think
know
we're-
when they give him blue flags, they
Yeah,
mention
but
something.
yeah, they mentioned Checo Perez more than him for sure. Yeah.
Hey,
My
indeed.
goat, another fair shout. My goat, Checo
No,
Perez.
I wouldn't say no. I
No,
wouldn't
we
put
are
Perez first. No.
we're going too far with that. And okay, the other one with
Watch him say Heikki Kovalainen.
No way.
I love like no. I couldn't even say that. I love this shout. It is my favorite, the only F1 driver that I have ever met in person, and this is David Coulthard.
Okay.
I just really like him, and you know I'm a Red Bull Glazer, so and he was really talented. The thing is that he just never had the car. Let's put it
what do you
on me. Well,
Just Mika Häkkinen was better.
Facts.
yeah, yeah, that is the thing. But yeah, still, I really like David Coulthard.
He got Red Bull's first podium. So
He did.
True.
Monaco 2006.
Yeah, and
The fact that I actually guessed that was insane.
The iconic,
Yeah.
the iconic pool.
The Star Wars.
The Star Wars.
Star Wars
livery,
livery,
yeah.
Also, I want to shout out only person that we haven't mentioned that's on my list as well. Bruce McLaren. He
Sure.
Yeah.
he
Good one.
created one of the greatest teams in history, and if he didn't pass away so soon, he could have been world champion as well.
Okay.
Okay. Really good pick.
Yeah.
Okay. I
Well,
think this is a nice way to
we
finish
have
this off.
come in for a full circle and finished what we started a long time ago. We planned this episode 3 years ago, which is crazy.
Yeah.
But we
But the
finally
discussion was great.
Yeah, it was
Yeah, I
great
think so.
discussion, and we finally got it to for everyone to witness now.
Yeah.
Finally, so yeah.
In the second to last episode, is it?
No, we are going to have 2 more episodes, but stay tuned. So one of them is going to be a race recap, and the last one is going to be a really special one for the podcast. It will be a
Just stay
milestone
tuned.
episode,
Stay
but
tuned.
yeah, just
Stay
stay tuned.
tuned.
We won't spoil more than that, but yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, this is all for today from us. We're looking forward to the next episode. Till then, like, subscribe, and follow us on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and stay tuned for more of our content. Thank you, and remember,
If you no longer go for a god that exists,
You're no longer a racing driver.